Hello, welcome back to the Glassgirls Network with me, Jonathan. Today we have a very special guest, a Stourbridge player who's been with us since the summer of 2024. So really good to have a new face on the show. Chile, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Nice week off work, so looking forward to getting to as many matches as I can over the next few days. It looks quite sunny where you are. What are you up to today?
Literally, I've just been out and about shopping, doing some shopping, and then now chilling.
Sounds good. Absolutely. Look, I want to talk to you a little bit about obviously your experience at Stourbridge. So I'll try and do it in chronological order as much as I can, but I'm sure we'll bounce back and forwards at some point. So I kind of just want to get started on, I suppose, that initial contact in the summer with Stourbridge. How did it kind of come about? Did you approach Stourbridge? Did they approach you? What was your thoughts like maybe towards the end of last season going into the summer?
Yeah, so obviously last season, I was at Lincoln City, and then obviously all that came sort of to an end. So I was sort of searching around a couple clubs, went and trained with a couple clubs, and then someone, actually it was Sinead. Sinead mentioned to me about going to Stour, so I got in contact with Aids, and then it all sort of like started from there. Went to a couple training sessions, and then yeah.
You mentioned Sinead and obviously China as well. Did you kind of all just go down together, or did you know that you was all going to go down together in the trials, or did you kind of like be surprised when you saw those two players there?
Obviously, I knew they was training with Stourbridge at the start of the season, so I knew they was going to be there. However, I didn't have any plans on any set plans on going anywhere. So it was sort of like it was nice for them to be there, sort of like a familiar face when I turned up for the first time. Didn't know anyone but them two, so it was nice for them to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit of a journey as well. So, is it Leicestershire way that you live? That's what I put on the message across the bottom.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Leicester way.
How long did that take you then to get to like Stourbridge area?
It was only just over an hour, so it wasn't too bad. So an hour there, an hour back, so it could have been worse.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's still a long time though, especially after a busy day as well. So I can
Yeah.
imagine it being quite tough on a Tuesday, Thursday. So what was your initial thoughts of Stourbridge before you actually joined? So obviously you would know Stourbridge from when Stourbridge was in Tier 4.
Mhm.
I suppose you might have saw a bit more of them then. However, did you have kind of any impression of Stourbridge before you actually went to the trials?
To be fair, other than playing them a couple of times, I didn't really know much about Stourbridge. I just knew there was a very good team that had gone from tier four, and in their first season, had jumped up to tier three. So in my head, it was just that there was a very good team. They seemed like they were all together, like it was a good team vibe. But other than that, didn't have a clue like about the managers, the players. So when I turned up, it was all completely brand new to me, which I like sometimes. Like starting fresh and then starting with new people that you don't know.
He was completely brand new to the fans as well this season. Obviously, we had like
Yeah.
a lot of changes. So yeah, I can understand that absolutely. I vaguely remember you and China, but it was Sinead that I kind of remembered more of. I think she had some sort of argy bargy with Mill Rogers
Yeah.
the previous season. So seeing Sinead come in, that was like kind of like a familiar face. But I didn't know too much about yourself or China. I think going through pre-season, it was Andrew Wall and Kieran Jones, a couple of fellow Stourbridge fans who recognised your talents early on before I did. So I remember the first game that you played, which was a pre-season game at Dudley College. Um, Obviously, Harriers easy to recognise because she doesn't shut up. And then, so obviously, Harriet caught my eye. Gwen Morgan caught my eye because some of her passing in that pre-season game, I think it was against Bournemouth or Donny Bales, I can't quite remember, was really good. And then obviously you're looking out for some of your old players coming back. So Emil Rogers who returned to the club,
Yeah.
Meg Hadley. But I never really you never really took my eye until the lads behind me said, "Oh, I think Tilly should be player of the match." And like I never really saw it. And then ever since then, obviously I'm thinking to myself, okay, what are they? What are these on about here? And then obviously, you know, it's kind of snowballs, doesn't it? So you start looking at these players more often, and I'm sure that's why you do get talked about in the fan base quite a lot.
Yeah.
Just about pre-season. What were like your expectations? Like your expectations, Stourbridge, Aid. What kind of things were you talking about in regards to what was possible and what was probably too much of a stretch?
I think for Stour's expectations at the start of the season, obviously it was to survive and probably end up around 10th position. Obviously at the start of the season, it was a whole brand new team. Nobody really knew each other. So I always knew that was going to be a massive expectation to be able to finish above relegation. Not that like the team isn't good enough, but because you're starting completely fresh. So you've got to gather how each other plays, how like you're going to bond as a team. So starting off, that was their expectations. However, my expectations for myself was just to be able to manage to start every game and manage to play as good as I can, because you never know who's on the lookout for players. So for me, that was my expectations, and just to feel happy playing football and to enjoy where I'm playing at a good standard against good teams. That was my expectations for myself.
And I think you definitely achieved that in regards to playing time. I think that you every game that you played in, you started, and I think you started pretty much every game, didn't you? I think you started.
Yeah,
I think FA full time says something like 12 starts. I think, yeah. So if you played last weekend, that would have probably been the 13, which would have been the top that you
yeah,
could have gone to anyway. So you
hmm,
certainly got a lot of game time. As for finishing 10th, me and Kieran said on this channel, I thoroughly agree. I
yeah,
think if we had like a stable summer, we could have
yeah,
looked at progressing on the likes of Albion and Derby, because
hmm,
that would have been the next step. Um, I think Aid kind of really surprised some of the fans in his first YouTube interview, saying, "Oh yeah, let's finish a little bit higher than that."
yeah,
Um, and that's good to have that belief. It kind of give us a lot of optimism as well. But I
yeah,
think just finishing 10th would have been a huge success this season. And I
yeah,
think we are lucky that Halifax kind of collapsed year on year. I hate to use that word, but it does look like that they fell quite strongly. But then I
hmm,
always thought it was going to be achievable to finish above two newly promoted teams as well, with Hull and Calcer. So even though they've both started the season better than us, they have no right to in theory, because it's not like they're a rich club. It's not like they're Newcastle, who got promoted the previous year then turned full time right away. So I always thought 10th was doable, even though I knew obviously it was going to be hard. Just a little bit on maybe like your training then throughout the week. So you train Tuesdays and Thursdays, play on a Sunday. How did you find the week as a whole?
um I'm going to speak my truth. So for me personally, training wise, it wasn't amazing. I've had better experiences with training at tier 4. So at Lincoln City, the training's always been high tempo. You push in training because that's what pushes you in matches. So Stour, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as high tempo as I thought it was going to be, and it didn't push me to my limits.
Yeah, I think no, I could understand that. I know how hard that they used to work as well.
Yeah.
Do you think it could just be a case of just is that an easy fix, or is that something that's in like the manager's hands, or is that something that's bigger? I.e., I appreciate that you don't train at Dudley College this season, so the facilities might not be like it used to be. But do you reckon, like maybe an introduction of a new coach to work alongside the current coach would help that, or is it a bigger deal? Do you think?
I think it's just thinking like wider about what you can do in training and how you can push the players to their top level. Because training is very important. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that training makes you a better player for the games at the weekends. So I don't necessarily think they need new people to come in and to make the training better. I just think they need to sit down all together and speak about the training and try and get it to a better tempo that matches all of the girls' expectations as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say something very basic here, because I'm not a footballer. I never have been, never want to be. I don't want to be a coach, nothing like that. But I remember one of the coaches saying to me in the past about keeping your heart rate up a certain level for a certain amount of time, having short breaks, and then going back to it again. And that's kind of just what you said there about intensity. And I didn't really realise the importance of that until the players started to play in tier 3 and the fitness levels had to shoot up. So yeah, it's interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
Moving on to the actual start of the season. Then the first home game was against Wolves. Quite a few fans there. The fans brought their flags in the away end. You had Anthony Wilson singing. Just what were your thoughts? Just like at that initial stage, was it a case of, well, yes, I'm in tier three. Look where I'm playing. I'm playing against Wolves. I'm playing in a four-sided stadium because Telford's a lovely stadium, and we've got fans singing against each other. Did it kind of take your eye?
Yeah, I absolutely loved our first game. Obviously, with all the fans, I love the noise. I love Ant songs because obviously at the time when I first started, I didn't really know any of the fans, and to hear like your name being chanted on the first game you get there, it's amazing. Like I completely love that. But yeah, and playing in a nice stadium as well, it just makes you realise that actually, wow, like this is a massive step from tier 4 to tier 3, where you can play in nice stadiums and you've got quite a few fans to come and support you along the way. So I really did enjoy that first game.
Yeah, and I'll say the fans did as well because even though we lost that game 4-0, we saw other teams losing 9 and 10-0 that same weekend, and we went away quite happy and buzzing. Really, a lot
Yeah,
of the things that were said pre-season, we could kind of see they're happening. Obviously, it was only one game, and I think Wolves probably didn't do as good as they could have possibly done. However, it was kind of exciting, and then we went on to Burnley. And we went 1-0 up at half time. Rosie Embley got that penalty kick, and we defended really well, especially that first half. So I think there was like a lot of positivity, even though we lost against two teams. But we understood as fans that Wolves and Burnley are going to be title contenders, so we don't expect to win.
yeah.
Those games. I suppose. What about yourself as as a defender as well, coming up against Wolves and Burnley? Was it as tough as you thought it was going to be? Was it tougher, easier? What were your thoughts?
For me personally, I always love a good challenge. So coming up against some of the top players in the league was really exciting for me. It also pushes you to your limits as well and shows you how capable you are of defending against a top striker or a top midfielder. So for me, I love playing against them players to prove how well I can play, but also how well the whole team can play against teams like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you soon become like a fan's favourite. It wasn't just you, but there was a collection of players that get spoken about in the fan base quite a lot. What were your thoughts on? Because obviously you would have seen the messages, you would have seen the interaction at the ground, you would have heard the songs, etc. How did it make you feel knowing that you was popular with the fans?
Oh, I love the fans. Like the fans are what got me through every game. They turn up week in, week out and support you, no matter whether you was winning 10-0 or losing 10-0. They was always there to support you. For me, the fans are probably one of the top things that are most important to me because, like I just said, that they're always there. Like you can have your manager shouting at you saying you're not doing this or you're not doing that, or the other players on the pitch saying you need to do this, but then fans are always going to big you up and they're always going to make you feel like you're the best thing since sliced bread. So to have good fans like I did at Stourbridge was really like beneficial for me.
I think what you see with a lot of the Stourbridge fans, especially the core fans that are there either week in, week out, and for a number of years, I never hear any parent or any fan say anything negative about players. They just
Mm.
speak highly about a certain few. So if someone's had a bad game, I never hear anyone say, "Oh, so and so's had a bad game." All I hear is the positives about who's had a good game, and I think we try and do that on this channel as much as we can do. So, we never say anyone's had a bad game, but if someone's we believe has had a player of the match kind of performance, then we'll highlight those players, and I think that's really important to do that. And I think teams need to do that as much as they can because obviously it raises your spirits and it keeps the positivity around the fan base as well. I want to talk to you about one specific game, Tilly,
Hmm.
and it's one that meant a lot to me, a lot to Stourbridge fans, and a lot to Kiddermister Harriers fans. It was the FA Cup game at Agborough. Absolutely massive occasion. Um, well, I just think that could be one of the games of the season across the Midlands. I could ask you, like, I could spend the whole hour talking to you about this particular game, but I suppose just first of all, what was the initial vibes that you got before the ball was kicked when you drew Kidderminster at the hat? What was the kind of vibe around the Stourbridge side of things?
Oh, we was all buzzing for it like the whole week prior. We was all buzzing for it, up for it. We knew there was going to be a big crowd, so we'd all prepared ourselves for that. And yeah, it felt like the team was really together before that game. but just obviously didn't go our way on the day.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I think Kiddermister Harriers wanted that fixture. I always thought it's come like a season too early. I felt because I did think that Stourbridge were the favourites going into the game. I always knew that Kiddie was probably better than maybe what people thought they were, because obviously I've been watching them throughout the season. But yeah, it was such a fantastic occasion. The amount of fans that went down, I think it was between 650 and 700, I heard, and it went straight the way through to penalty shootouts as well. So it really did tick a lot of boxes. It raised a lot of eyebrows. The social media and the build up to that was fantastic. The FA Women's National, no, the Women's FA Cup Twitter page retweeted it. I think when they've done the draw, they mentioned Andy Fisher's name, or Kiddermister Harriers. There was a big togetherness at Kiddermister because they was against their old club. But what I was always wondering, Tilly, was because you didn't really know Andy Fisher, and the majority of the players didn't really know Andy Fisher or the players who had left. I always thought to myself, okay, it probably meant more to the Kidderminster players than it did to the Stourbridge. Did you just see it as just another game, or did you see it as, okay, I want to get one over on the old guard? I guess.
I think for me personally, because I didn't know the old Stour lot, and then I didn't even know half the new Stour lot. For me, it probably was just another game. But I think for a
Mhm.
certain few in my team, it was more than just that. They wanted to go out and prove that we were better. We wanted the win more.
Yeah,
But no, for me, there wasn't really that sort of in it. Obviously, I wanted to win. I wanted to go out there and prove to everyone that Stour was a good team and that we was going to win. But it probably wasn't like that rivalry there for me.
yeah. I can totally understand that, and I'm not surprised that you said that. In one bit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess that the whole experience that you've had at Stourbridge, what would you say are the pros and the cons? So was there anything? Obviously, you went to Tier 3. I'm guessing that was the first time you've been in Tier 3. Obviously, that was obviously a good thing. Obviously, you mentioned the training kind of being maybe on the flip side of things. But what was your overall assessment about being in Stourbridge and also a Tier 3 team?
So my pros was probably stepping up a tier. That was massive to me. It's shown me that I'm more than capable to play in tier 3. Also, I met Harriet, who's now my best friend, and if I didn't step up into tier 3 and go to Stour, then I would never have known her. Um, Also, like playing against big teams, for me that was amazing. Like to see the standard from tier 4 to the top of tier 3 is just like it was crazy, but it was a good experience for me because it shows me how far I've got to go to get to the bigger teams and what they're looking for in the bigger teams. Cons, do you know what? I don't take much negatives out of it. Like football's football at the end of the day. What happened at the end of Stour happened. But for me, like I just take all of the positives. Like there's not really any negatives for me.
Absolutely. I love to hear that, because it's one of those where, like, when one door closes, another one opens, that kind of thing. And it's a journey at the end of the day, isn't it? And you're still at the age where you're still at the start of your journey, and this is on your CV already. So, yeah, which is fantastic to hear. So just to Stourbridge going forward, then, how do you think that'll do towards the end of the season? Obviously, it's a tough one. Are you still thinking that 10th is achievable?
Um, for me, 10th is probably out of the picture now. I wish the girls and Stour all the success in the world. However, the teams around Stour in that league now are just leveling up every week. Like they're bringing new players in, they're getting better. Like teams like Kawasar, they're doing very, very well at the minute. I'm sure you've seen their result. Like, was it last weekend or the weekend before?
Yeah,
1-0 to Notts Forest. Like
crazy.
that's an amazing achievement for them, and they should be very proud of themselves. So I do wish Stour all the best. However, like in my eyes now, I don't see how they're gonna survive.
Yeah, I can't let you leave without give you one last message to the fans. I know we spoke about you a lot on this channel, and I'm sure we'll be supporting you from afar as well. And thank you again for coming on today. I'm going to guarantee a load of fans will be Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Obviously, you never really got a chance to say goodbye to the fans, but if you could just say a few little things, what kind of things would you like to say to them?
I just love to thank them all for their support. It means more than they'll ever know. From the songs to the words after and the clubhouse and having a drink together. Their support has been amazing throughout, and I couldn't have asked for better fans, to be honest. And I appreciate every single one of them, and I always will, because they made my experience at Stour amazing. And turning up every weekend and seeing their faces just made it better for me. So yeah, I thank you all, and I really have appreciated it, and it was lovely to meet them all, because they're all characters in their own way. And yeah, I just thank you guys, because you did make my experience at Stour a hell of a lot better.
Thank you very much, Tilly, and thanks again for coming on, and best of luck for the rest of your football career.
Thank you, John. Hope to see you soon.
You will do. Bye bye.
Bye.